What's going on, everybody? There we go. What's going on, everyone? So, today we're going to do a small pickup video from what I picked up at the Goodwill today. It was a very cool little pickup. There's like 15 movies here, but I want to go through them each one by one. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get my live stream up on my television here as a monitor. Oh, well that's probably why I didn't have any video. Sorry about that. Alright, let's try this again. Hello everyone, welcome back to another live stream of the Bored Cyborg Show. So today I found quite a cool haul at the Goodwill. It's a very unique haul. There's basically every single movie that I picked up today I have never heard of. And they're, you know, in the wheelhouse of things that I enjoy or that I would potentially enjoy. I'm overflowing with Super Nintendo games now. I got a couple for the collection recently. Power Rangers Zeo Racer. And then I got Secret of Evermore. And I got Soul Blazer. What's going on, dear? Dear. Hello, dear. Hello, Dean. What's going on, Dean? Thank you so much for tuning in. But yeah, so today's Goodwill trip was cool. I honestly don't find hauls like this very often. They're always exciting when I do, where it's just like movie after movie that I've never heard of. They look interesting or weird. Out of print, definitely. And I've got a couple... I've got, I don't know, 10 or 15 DVDs, one VHS, and one kind of movie-related memorabilia. And then I have a package that we're going to open together. There you go, Dean. I looked quickly out of the corner of my eye and I saw deer. But it's just you, Mr. Bob, or Dean Pierce. All right, so... without further ado, I would like to thank you all for checking out this live stream. If you enjoy these live streams, feel free to give them a thumbs up. That helps me with the algorithm. That definitely does not favor my content because I tend to talk about things that I want to talk about as opposed to the things that the algorithm wants me to talk about. So, if you could hit that thumbs up, it would help me greatly. Any comments, any subscriptions, you know, subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the live streams, which I do once a week at this point at least. I also try to get out a couple shorts. I'm trying to get some traction here, and it's going well. I'm getting more and more people into the channel, which is nice, and I appreciate. So without further ado, guys, we're gonna jump right in, and we're gonna start taking a look. What do you say? Maybe I should open this first. We'll open up the package first with this rusty ass blade that definitely will provide you with the tetanus if you mishandle it. Look at that. I have a story idea called Rusty Blade. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's about somebody who commits suicide with a rusty blade, and from that, very strange Frank Henenlotter basket case type of things happen, and it's a big allegory. I don't want to say too much. I guess I shouldn't have even brought it up, but it's a cool idea that I want to write. All right, guys, so first thing first, I sold a copy of this movie on DVD, which unfortunately I sold it on eBay, and the person got it, opened it up, and found that the disc, it was a brand new disc, brand new and sealed, and found that the disc was like, had a manufacturer defect, so I ended up having to return it. So I usually only pick up Blu-rays like this when I sell off the DVD for a significant amount, and such that the Blu-ray is only a few bucks. But I basically lost money on this, but that's okay. I actually have another copy of it that I plan to sell. It's just part of a box set right now. So we'll take out the poster. Gotta love when Criterion, yes, this is a Criterion release, does posters. That's a really interesting poster too. Huh. Doesn't really give away what the film is either. So here we have a classic that I was so thrilled to see Criterion put out. And I knew I had to pick it up because I pretty much pick up any, or I try to pick up any Criterion releases that are genre. And that is Cat People from 1942. I'm always always, oh, Cat People. God, I was conflating this for a second with Carnival of Souls. But Cat People is from 1942. Sorry, guys. I was talking about Carnival of Souls in my head for some reason, but I picked that up on Criterion recently. But anyway, this is from 1942, Jacques Tourneur, a film that I really do enjoy, and I'm looking forward to watching it a second time, because it wasn't quite what I expected. It was more metaphorical. It was less monster movie and more psychological horror. And so that was pretty ahead of its time for 1942. Both Carnival of Souls in the 60s and Cat People have similar kind of vibes in terms of psychological horror, but obviously Cat People comes out in 42. It's way ahead of its time here. So it's only 73 minutes long, which I love. This I have in a Val Lewton box set. So the Val Lewton box set has 9 films, 2 films on each. I think it's 2 films, or does it have 10 films? 9 films and a documentary, so 2 films on each disc. And that's what I ended up selling. I ended up selling Cat People, which I found in the wild, sealed, with The Curse of Cat People. And it basically fully funded this Blu-ray, and then I had to return it, unfortunately. But happy to have Cat People in the collection. It's definitely one that I wanted in the Criterion collection, and I'm happy to finally have it. RKO Pictures here. Redefine the genre by leaving its most frightening terrors to its audience's imagination. So that was really where this film innovated. At a time when Universal was putting out a ton of movies in the 30s and the early 40s, showing the monster in full glory, and that's where the terror came from. Jacques Tourneur and Val Lewton decided to go a different route with a little bit lower of a budget. Possibly that was one of the constraints, one of the reasons why they were able to be creative and really push the unseen as the horrific and more psychological horror, like I was saying. So I went into this expecting to see some cat people, some monsters. There's really not much of that. Not a spoiler, but there's none of that really. It's all sort of, is what this woman is experiencing happening? To what extent? And that's why I conflated it with Carnival of Souls, because 20 years later, Carnival of Souls would kind of deal with the same ideas of you know, the scariest things are possibly not shown to you, are possibly not explained. And obviously that has become a trope in horror, and something that a lot of horror films still do to this day. It Comes at Night is a good example of that, but I think It Comes at Night is a bad example, actually, because It Comes at Night just kind of teases you the whole time, almost trolls you, and doesn't really give you much of anything to get your teeth into. But the films that do it right, you know. You don't always have to show your monster, especially in the first 15 minutes. Alright guys, so we're going to jump into the haul here, which is very cool. Like I said, there's a lot of weird movies here. I might not have much to say, but a few of them I'm going to read the back. We're going to kind of learn about what they are together, because I didn't look them up before this. Sorry, I did not look them up before this. And I just want to... Okay, well... Alright guys, let's jump right in. So the first one that I picked up... Well, the first one at the same Goodwill, by the way. I went to one Goodwill today. I got like a Rock Band guitar, which was nice. A third-party one at the first Goodwill. And the second Goodwill, all of this came from. So here we have Alex Linz. That's crazy. The kid in Home Alone 3. Shirley MacLaine, Gary Sinise, Jennifer Tilly, Joey Lauren Adams, Kathy Bates. Very 90s cast there. A film by Shirley MacLaine. So it looks like Shirley MacLaine actually directed this film. So that's interesting. Came out in 1999. This is called The Dress Code. Has anybody ever heard of The Dress Code? I had never heard of this film. Again, none of these I really had ever heard of. And so I knew I had to pick them up. This looks kind of... Looks like it's from 1999, yep. I'm trying to see if there's any other names attached here that I know. Written by David Simonello, never heard of it. Gary Sinise's big frustration in life is his 8-year-old son, Bruno. He's the favorite target of schoolyard bullies and even Mother Superior, played by Kathy Bates. Dino's eccentric wife, or her girlfriend, there's nothing that they can do to make Bruno tougher. Now, his grandmother, played by Shirley MacLaine, has a plan to straighten the kid out with some tough love, but can she bring the father and son together before it's too late? So that sounds pretty interesting, like a comedy, like a drama comedy maybe, from 1999. The tagline here is, the comedy that is long on originality and short on pants. Okay, whatever that means. And yeah, I haven't looked up the value of any of these movies thus far, and this one, unfortunately, I noticed in the shop it has some inner ring cracks that I'll have to mitigate by putting I'm just going to put this in like an envelope or something so that it doesn't, you know, somebody was pulling it up from the spindle. And so what you want to look for, guys, when you're out hunting, this is an easy mistake that I still make to this day. I don't know if this is focusing. Oh, it's showing me right through the hole. That's so funny. You can't see the inner ring cracks there. Okay. Well, you got a cool camera angle at least. You can almost see that. There they are. They showed up right at the end. And, let's see. Yeah, this one's got some bad inner ring cracks. I should have looked at it. I would have picked it up either way because I could still spin it, I'm sure. But we'll go back to that one in a minute. Or I'll repurpose it in a minute, I should say. Next up, I got a couple films put out by VCI under the Rank collection, which is strange. I see plenty of VCI movies, but none that fall under the Rank collection. I don't even know what that means. Maybe they're just military films from that are forgotten. And I got two here. The Way Ahead, with a young David Niven, Jimmy Hanley, Stanley Holloway, Trevor Howard, John Laurie, William Hartnell. They were boilermen, rent collectors, businessmen. They were call-ups, and they restored the ranks. So there you go, the Rank collection. I guess just a bunch of war movies that VCI put out. Yeah, I don't know much about this. Some big names, though. Carol Reed directed this. Carol Reed's lump-in-the-throat flag waver still packs a powerful punch, and his semi-documentary technique provides a realistic grittiness to the on-screen action. So that sounds pretty unique for the time, for 44. Keep in mind, this came out during the war effort, so this is going to be Western propaganda to the extreme. Everything that came out during that period was made with the U.S. government or with the British government, etc. Film debut of Trevor Howard, originally released in the U.S., in a shortened, more serious version titled The Immortal Battalion. But this is the unrated, longer version, almost 2 hours long, which is rather long for a 40s film. Let's see if there's any other names that I recognize here. Peter Ustinov, written by Peter Ustinov. Why do I know that name, Peter Ustinov? I don't recognize the person who did the music. But yeah, this is a pretty cool one, The Way Ahead. If it wasn't so damn clean, like these movies are just so, looked like they were opened and then never watched again. Most of them, that is. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing any. Sorry guys, bear with me a sec. Alright, yeah, we just don't have too many people in here right now. Okay, it is what it is. I was wondering if the chat was disconnected, but it's not. Alright, guys. Next up, we have the true story of the only German prisoner of war to escape. The One That Got Away. Another one from VCI's Rank collection. Hardy Kruger as Franz von Vera. This movie, let's see here, because I'm thinking this was actually a German film here. Let's see, screenplay. No, Roy Ward Baker directed this, so that's a good sign. Roy Ward Baker would go on to direct, I believe, some Hammer horror movies. I get him mixed up with Roy Ward Baker and George. I think Roy Ward Baker was a British director who did some Hammer stuff, if I'm not mistaken. George Roy Hill, that's the other one I get mixed up in. Those three name folks. But this one looks like came out in 1957, so far after the war. Starring Hardy Kruger, who was a real-life prisoner of war. So it's kind of like an Audie Murphy kind of thing, where Audie Murphy was in the war on the U.S. side in World War II, and then after the war he came home and started making movies, and he was a bit of an action star for a while in the westerns, etc., and the military movies. So he was a real prisoner of war as Von Vera in his first UK production. So this is really kind of an interesting historical piece here. You have an actual German prisoner of war playing a German prisoner of war in a UK production, which is just bizarre. And truly a historical kind of movie here I'm holding. This may not be worth anything. This may be a garbage film. But just historically speaking, it's a really cool one. I would wager this is a pretty good movie. It looks good. It looks like it's shot well. Looks like it's handled well. So we shall see. It's a prisoner of war movie, an escape movie, if you will. Here, this one I picked up to sell because it was fetching quite a bit and selling consistently enough for eBay. This is, I would assume, Ralph Waldo Emerson, yeah. it's a biography of him. America's founding thinker, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson's belief in the infinitude of the private man still resonates with spiritual seekers today. Most people know Emerson's essay, Self-Reliance, but there is much more to the fascinating life of the man and his circle. So a very influential American thinker here. It also name drops David Thoreau, Walt Whitman, Margaret Fuller, all people that I have read and do enjoy. I haven't read enough of Emerson, if I'm being completely honest with you. But this is supposed to be apparently a good and valuable documentary about Ralph Waldo Emerson. So, one of the more boring ones. I picked these up to sell. Believe it or not, Tai Chi for Arthritis 1 and the sequel 2. So, Paul Lamb does these arthritis Tai Chi DVDs. I could sell both of them for probably about 25 or 30 bucks, believe it or not. All right, here's another. Here we have a couple weird ones. I'll put these together since they're kind of, they're from the same distributor or publisher at least. So like really weird movies here I've never heard of. Here we have The Kid with X-Ray Eyes. I would love to know if any of you guys have ever heard of these movies, because they're from my era. This came out, it looks like, in 1999. So I was like 11 or 12 years old, but I have just never even heard of these films. Robert Carradine is in this. It seems to be the only name of note. Directed by Sherman Scott. It's a PG film, so it's a family film. It's got this little logo, Family Entertainment, this rainbow here that I've only seen a couple times. Usually in like 4-packs and stuff like that. New Concord put this out. The Kid with X... And that cover is actually pretty funny. It's him looking at a chick on the beach, and he's seeing not her... Obviously, she's already in a bikini, so it's just her as a skeleton, which is funny. So I have no idea what this is, guys. It might be awful. Or it might be sort of a nostalgic trip. This is the type of thing that I would have picked up at the video store back in the day. And just, and I just didn't, because there's only so many movies I could rent. But The Kid with X-Ray Eyes. I can't wait to look these up to see what they're worth. And the other one from New Concord Family Entertainment is a film with Robert Hayes, and I really like Robert Hayes, and I believe they spelt his name wrong. Yes, they did. They spelt Robert Hayes' name wrong on the front, so that's a good sign. Robert Hayes, you guys would know from Airplane 1 and 2. Robert Hayes is the lead character in Airplane, and sort of like the straight man amidst the chaos, the eye of the storm, if you will. Richard Mole is in this. Directed by Howard McClain. Executive producer Roger Corman. There you go. I wonder if Roger Corman executive produced this. No, he did not. Okay, weird. So this one, let's see if there's any other names. Allison Mack, like Allison Mack. That reminds me of Alex Mack, the old Nickelodeon cartoon. Robert Hayes is the only name in this, and Roger Corman does produce this, apparently. The Cochran kids want parents, not the workaholic, chain-smoking absentee wimps that brought them into the world. So when their mom and dad buy self-hypnosis tapes to try to kick the smoking habit, the kids see an opportunity. This is so 90s. They doctor the hypnosis tapes with a few suggestions of their own, and suddenly their parents are seriously cool, while everything else is totally wild. So this sounds really interesting. Came out in 1994. So I somehow missed this growing up. I didn't even say what the title of the movie is. No dessert, Dad, till you mow the lawn. Guys, that is the name of the film. Like, what a bizarre name for a film. It's almost like a parody of 70s giallo or 70s horror, where it's got this long title that's sort of poetic. This is a long title that's the opposite of poetic. No dessert, Dad, till you mow the lawn. It's almost like a non sequitur. Clean your room, walk the dog, take out the trash, a lesson in raising parents. So I honestly feel like I'm really going to enjoy this. Oh, Jimmy Marsden's in it too. I thought I recognized the guy on the front, Jimmy Marsden. Or James, I guess he would go by after this movie, which is funny. So yeah, so this one looks bizarre. I'm going to definitely check that one out. That looks super weird. Let's see, Shadowlands. I picked this up to sell because it is... I believe out of print. I know it's out of print, and I know it fetches like $10 out of the package. So I'm hoping sealed I can get like 15 or 20 for it. Directed by Richard Attenborough. This is a movie about C.S. Lewis. This is a biopic about C.S. Lewis, the famous Christian writer who is a fantastic writer, fantastic Christian writer, and I'm not a Christian, I'm agnostic, but, you know, he really is a beautiful writer. One of my favorites of his is the Screw Tape Letters, where God and the devil are, if I remember correctly, God and the devil are kind of arguing philosophically about humanity and about a multitude of things, and it's really good. I got to rewatch it again because it's been like 10 plus years. What's up, Mr. Ralph Rosa? Thank you so much for tuning in. We're about halfway through this little live stream here. Thank you for tuning in. All right, guys, next up we have a couple. I'm kind of doing this by publisher, apparently, because I got like 2 of each, oddly. Here we have a Peter O'Toole film. It's got Peter O'Toole and his blue eyes next to Adolf Hitler and some Nazi flags. This is from Alpha Video. It's called Rogue Male. Now, usually Alpha Video puts out stuff from the 30s, 40s, 50s, even the 20s in a lot of ways, and but it's always really bad transfers of movies that not really anybody else is touching, or public domain movies, etc. What's up, Michael? Sounds like the Seventh Seal. Yeah, the Screw Tape Letters, I think, was probably written after that, but yeah, it's kind of a similar philosophical. It is reminiscent of Seventh Seal, but yeah, it's slightly different, and I may be misremembering it to some extent because it's been a while. But yeah, usually Alpha Video puts out stuff like that, older stuff that's in the public domain that really nobody's ever heard of. But this one's from '76, which I find kind of interesting. I wonder if it was ever released elsewhere or in any other format. It's got one really cool shot on the back. The second from the top, the shot from the second from the top, is a really interesting perspective. It looks like they're getting ready to execute a young woman, but this sort of first-person perspective of the two rifles is pretty interesting to see. So it's got a cool shot back there that definitely gets me interested in the film. Renegade English aristocrat who attempts to assassinate Hitler. Wow. Thorndike is captured by the SS and savagely tortured. Left for dead, the horribly injured man makes his escape. You know, that's all I really want to know. This actually sounds really cool. Alistair Sim is in this. Wow. He was in one of the best versions of the Scrooge, A Christmas Carol from the 40s. Alistair Sim, Peter O'Toole. He must have been very old at this point. John Standing, Ray Smith, Mark McManus, directed by Clive Donner. So this is from '76, guys. Really cool one to see Alpha Video put out. I would bet this hasn't been released in any other way by any other publisher, or distributor. Next up, we have a double feature, and I've never seen this. This is like an on-demand Alpha Video, so pretty interesting. Again, so many things I've learned from from picking up this lot. I didn't know they did double features. I didn't know they did movies into the '70s, so that's really interesting. These two here are from '68 and '69. One directed by Frank Kramer, an old school. I thought Frank Kramer. Yeah, Frank Kramer. Let's see, John Garco. Okay, yeah, I thought this was an Italian film because it has Klaus Kinski and John Garco. John Garco was in a bunch of weird Italian films, a Sartana film. But yeah, Frank Kramer sounds very familiar. I'm not sure if that's, what do you call, a pseudonym for an Italian director, Americanizing his name. But Frank Kramer. I'm thinking of Stanley Kramer, maybe. But Frank Kramer is maybe somebody different. This one's called Five for Hell. Men Behind Enemy Lines in the War's Most Impossible Mission. And then we have Hell in Normandy with Guy Madison and Peter Lee Lawrence, the true story of the men who made D-Day possible. So these are two, what looks to be, my gut tells me European. '68, '69 war films. We weren't making too many war films in America at that time. Let me see. The Beast of Science Fiction. Stars Guy Madison, known for science fiction pictures, The Beast of Hollow Mountain. That sounds like a classic. And then more sultry Erica Blanc for Giallo films. So I'm thinking that these are both Italian directors who Americanized their names for the releases. But I'll have to do a little bit of research. I'm not exactly sure. Very cool. 90 minutes each. Couple war films. All right, these two, again, are very strange. I'm not sure if these were ever released in legit form. But these are obviously on demand. You know, you can tell by the purple bottom there. But you can tell that the label was placed and the artwork was printed because it's not perfect. But it looks like a decent... How do I say this? These stand out to me sometimes because sometimes people put movies on DVD that never made it officially to DVD. So I'm assuming these are what these are. I'm going to do a little bit of research after this video to figure that out exactly. But one of our aircraft is missing. That's the name of this one, which sounds pretty cool. It really doesn't... I don't have much to say about it. It came out during wartime, 1942. And then we have 2,000 Women, which definitely sounds like one of my late-night dreams. I'm just kidding. This one... I don't know anything about this film. 2,000 Women. This World War II era British comedy drama takes place in a German internment camp located in occupied France. Female prisoners struggle to cope but unite in making life difficult for the Nazi soldiers. So this sounds interesting. When 3 British airmen are shot down over the prison, the women hide them and plot to help them escape. Sorry, the English is not perfect on this. But yeah, Again, guys, these are obviously printed on demand, but every once in a while I'm willing to pick them up. It says right on the side, DVD-R format. They're not trying to hide it from anyone. So again, I would assume that these are films that never made it to DVD. And so if they're as good as a VHS, but maybe a little bit better in terms of quality, sounds great to me. I'm in. All right, we've got a few more left here, guys. This is a strange one that looks right up my alley. And again, like something I should have seen back in the day, but didn't. This came out when I was a little older. Granted, I was in high school at this time. 14 years old here, or 15 even. Directed and written by John Carl Buechler, who directed Garbage Pail Kids. He also directed, didn't he direct Part 7, what's it? The New Blood, Friday the 13th, The New Blood. That's 6, 7, 8. I think that's Part 7, if I'm not mistaken. 8 is Manhattan, I think. But this one, it looks like a lighthearted fantasy family film. Again, one that I've never even heard of. Let's see if there are any names in it that I recognize. No. Edward Lawrence Albert. I wonder if that's Eddie Albert. He used to be billed as Eddie Albert. This one's called A Light in the Forest, guys. Have you ever heard of this? Christmas Will Never Be the Same. So it's a Christmas film? Odd. It's like a family fantasy Christmas movie. The whole family will love this holly jolly fantasy film, filmed with excitement, enchantment, and dazzling special effects. Back when the world was still young, a lad called Holly Boy brought light and joy to the world. He was the very embodiment of Christmas and a beacon of good cheer until the wicked elf King Otto and his partner in crime, Witch Hazel, silenced him. Okay, so it is a fantasy holiday film. Weird. Directed by John Carl Buechler, who was a special effects guy. He did a lot of special effects. I think he also directed, or at least did the effects for Troll, the first Troll movie from '86, which I really love. Maybe for all the wrong reasons. Next up, guys, we have another film here starring Ronald Reagan. Warner Brothers' most raved about hit since Johnny Belinda. I don't know what that is. And I doubt that's a true statement. Vincent Sherman directs this film, which came out in 1949. It's called The Hasty Heart. This might not be my kind of thing, guys. I'm not exactly sure. It does sure have a young Ronald Reagan there on the back, playing an easygoing Yank. It says on the back here. Hasty Heart playwright. This came out in 1949, so after the war. Todd won a 1949 Best Actor Oscar nomination and Most Promising Newcomer Golden Globe. And that was Richard Todd, somebody who I've never heard of. So there you go. Still, the Allies fight doggedly through Burma in 45. So I guess it's a war film. Don't know much about it, guys. Beautiful performance by Todd. It sounds like Richard Todd puts in quite the turn there. All right. Next up, we have another one, guys. Film I had never heard of, directed by Neil Simon. Written by Neil Simon, based on one of his plays. Directed by Martha Coolidge. And this film came out in 1993. Richard Dreyfuss, Mercedes Ruehl, Irene Worth. It's a film adaptation of one of his plays. It's called Lost in Yonkers, set during World War II. It tells the story of two brothers who are sent to live with their domineering grandmother after their mother's death. Sounds uplifting. Strong as steel, twice as cold, rules her, Grandma Kernitz rules her roost with an iron fist. Yeah, I don't know much about this. I don't need to know much about this. It is supposed to be pretty good. I looked up some reviews of this one when I was contemplating picking it up, and I finally did. If I knew it was from 93, I would have picked it up either way. It just kind of looked a little bit more modern than that. But, yeah, Lost in Yonkers. Never heard of it, guys. Never heard of it. Let's see. We'll do that one for last. All right, they actually had 2 copies of this, of a DVD that I've never seen in my life, of 2 movies, a double feature that I've never heard of in my life, 2 war dramas, so a lot of war dramas here. Berlin Tunnel 21 and A Time of Destiny. A Time of Destiny stars William Hurt, Timothy Hutton, Melissa Leo, and Stockard Channing. So a good cast. Berlin Tunnel 21 stars Richard Thomas and Horst Buchholz. Berlin Tunnel is from 1981. And A Time of Destiny is from 1988. They are both full frame, so I wonder if they were cut or if they were originally like TV movies. But this one, Berlin Tunnel, takes place in East Berlin in '61, so during the Cold War. It was cut off from West Berlin, but a band of daring West Berliners decide to tunnel under the wall to rescue friends and family. So that sounds interesting. Yep, written for television. Looks like... I'm hoping they were both television movies and they were shot in full frame. Time of Destiny, it says, tragedy and revenge come between 2 close friends and fellow GIs during World War II. The guilt-ridden son of a Basque family in San Diego was out to avenge the accidental death of his father. So there you go. This is in perfect condition. I checked the disc, and that is put out by MGM in one of those like strange double features. So really cool. Happy to have that. And we picked up one lone VHS here that has like some rental stickers and whatnot. I'm going to try to get this one off while we speak here. And we got it. Great success. The hell are you doing? The hell are you doing? Don't question me in my own stream. I'm just kidding. Hi, Sandra. How you doing? I'm just messing with you. What the hell am I doing? I was pulling off a sticker from this VHS I'm going to discuss here. Mississippi Blues. I picked this up, guys, because it never made it to DVD, as far as I could tell. Sorry, Sandra, if I went into my acting mode there. No VHS video. You don't want me to talk about VHS? Is that what you're saying? I'm confused. What are you trying to say, Sandra? I'm all the more willing to communicate. Anyway, Mississippi Blues, guys, was put out by MPI, who, of course, releases Blu-rays and DVDs now. But I guess they released VHS back in the day. This one was butchered a little bit. It looks like the artwork was cut up, and they kind of, put it in another box. But that's okay. I have a bunch of VHS like that never made it to DVD. Jolly good. I'm sorry to say you missed the entire video, pretty much. I have this and one more to talk about, and then one more weird item. But I unboxed one thing, and then I talked about, like, this cool 15 to 20 movie DVD lot that I picked up. But feel free to check it out on the Rebound. I will be archiving it. It'll take a couple hours to upload, but it should show up. You should be able to watch it on the archive. But guys, Mississippi Blues seems to be an 80s, I think it's early 80s, 83, documentary about Mississippi blues, maybe about where blues starts, about a lot of the cultural affectations of what blues is, and not really my type of thing per se, but one that, again, never made it to DVD. It's put out by a company that I like, MPI, and I'm going to keep it in the VHS collection, that's for sure. What's up, Gungshi? Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'm sorry, it's a little... we're at the end of the live stream. I have 2 more items to talk about here. And but thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, now that I could tell you, not quite face-to-face, but you catch my drift. Thank you so much for the incredible package that I unboxed in last week's episode. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My God, so many cool items in that box. So thank you, Gungshi. Sandra says, hang on, what about Ampex VHR 1000?